Welcome back, legends. I hope you're enjoying your holiday season. It is time for another installment of Friday Q&A, the last one for 2022 and the 197th Q&A in total. So we're getting close to that magic 200 number. I just want to say a massive thank you to everybody who has helped support my channel in 2022. I made a lot more videos than I expected to do at the start of 2022. I got to try out so many cool pieces of gear and put together a lot of really enjoyable and satisfying tutorials as well. Ragdoll was out on the road again in 2022. We did a few shows over east here in Australia and did a lot of playing at home here in Perth. So I'm super grateful for that. I had a really productive year, a really satisfying year, like I said earlier, and so much of it comes down to the support and encouragement that everybody who actually takes the time to watch my videos makes. So to all of you, give yourself a pat on the back. I think you all deserve it. You've really, really helped push me this year and push the channel to greater heights than I ever could have anticipated. Saying that, it is time to get into some of your questions and start thinking about what you would like me to do for Q&A 200. You can let me know in the comments, or you can come and join my Discord server. It's linked in the video description. Come and hang out there and have a little bit of a chat. But for now, time to answer some of your questions. How did I go about getting the kind of filter sweep sound that I use live when we play Rust? I did a 5-minute tones video going through my FM9 live preset not too long ago. If you go to the 5.5-minute mark of that video, I briefly discuss what I'm doing with the filter there. But basically, it is a resonant low pass filter, and I've set up the ADSR so that as soon as I start playing, the filter is at its minimum frequency and it's just timed so that it comes up to a particular point. I basically just timed the particular section that I need to play there on the original song, and then set the, I think either the sustain or the release in the ADSR to do that. If you've got my live preset, it is on scene 5, and you can have a look at the modifiers that I'm using there. Otherwise, I would be more than happy to put together a 5-minute tones video exploring that filter sweep, because it's one of my favorite effects in there. This one comes from friend of the channel and longtime patron Marcelo. My thoughts on Aristides guitars. I have not played an Aristides, but I was talking about my Discord server earlier. There's a few people in there who own some custom Aristides. Some of them have multiple Aristides, and they're kind of like the Lamborghini of guitars. They really look sleek. The fact that they are made of composite materials is very, very cool. And just the overall design doesn't look too mutated or strange for the sake of being strange. They really look like a kind of futuristic guitar with futuristic materials, and their artist roster definitely represents that as well. And I would love to try one if I get a chance at some point in 2023 or 2024 or going forwards. They just really look like guitars that would appeal to some of the things that I like, because I really enjoy traditional designs, but I enjoy forward-looking designs as well. So if you're an Aristides user or you've got one on order, let me know in the comment section below. This question comes from another one of my long-standing patrons, Rutger. Shout out to Rutger. I hope you and the family are having a fantastic festive season. We were talking about the PV Rockmaster preamp, which has a really unique 3-band active EQ. The mid control sweep on it is super powerful. You basically just pull the mids out and you have an instant early 90s death metal tone, or you push them up and you have that Surfing with the Alien super forward mid-range thing. However, it's not a MIDI switchable preamp, so if you set the mid-range somewhere, you kind of have to live with it. So if I was to add an EQ pedal to that, would I start off with boosted mids and use the EQ to cut them, or would I do the opposite? Firstly, I definitely need to do another demo of the Rockmaster. It's been years since I've taken a look at it. Mine probably just needs some new tubes and a little bit of a clean, but that is one high on the list for 2023 to take a look at, because it's just a fantastic sounding preamp. Great cleans, great crunch tones, and an insane amount of controllable distortion. My gut feel there would be that it's always going to be a little bit easier to cut than it is to boost, and you will probably have better control over the overall noise if you're using the EQ to cut rather than boost. So maybe start off with the lead sound that you want in there, put an EQ in the loop and give it a nice big V to get that super crunchy tone in there. So you turn the EQ off to kind of get you back to that surfing with the alien tone. But having said that, maybe that's something I will look at when I re-demo the Rockmaster. I've got the Source Audio EQ2, which is programmable, so I could try out both of those really, really easily. In fact, that's got 2 EQs in it, so I could put one before and one after. That would be really fun as well. I think I know what I'm going to do for this particular video. But again, this is one of those things that's the first thing I would do on paper, but guitar tone, it's part science, part art, part experimentation. So I would really have to experiment with it to know what works best. Have I ever tried a Robin guitar? I haven't, but I think they made some of the better looking Super Strats from the Super Strat era. Shout out to one of my students, Alessio, who actually has a Robin guitar, and they have shown me that and kind of educated me on the ways of Robin guitars and what they do really, really well. For me, they're probably up there with stuff like the Hamer Californian when it comes to like those ultimate shredder style guitars. So haven't had a chance to try one. They are as rare as proverbial hen's teeth down here in Australia. But if you've got one and you love it, tell me about it. The best unexpected musical gift that I have ever received. This is a very, very good question. There's been quite a few over the years that were pieces of gear that I never would have gone out and purchased for myself that ended up being incredibly thoughtful and really got the creative juices flowing. And I did have a really good think about this one. There's been, like I said, quite a few, but I think the ultimate one is for Christmas one year, I was maybe 15 or 16. My parents got me a Boss hard disk recorder. I think it was the bee-tah 1600 CD. Sounds like the right one. So you could do 16 tracks on there, had a built-in drum machine, had built-in effects and modeling, the good old COSM stuff. You could connect headphones or monitors. You could burn your own CDs on there. And I think that piece of gear is probably the hinge that my musical career balances upon, because I got so deep into programming that I wrote so many little pieces of music and learned so much about composition, recording, overall how to use other instruments that aren't the guitar, like programming drums and playing bass and playing keyboards. I had so much fun on that particular machine. I think we even recorded the very first Ragdoll demos on it and a couple of live Ragdoll shows back in the day. I think my dad still has that particular hard disk recorder, so I probably need to pull it out and see if any of my old demos are on it, and maybe pull the multi-tracks off it and have a crack at remixing them, a lifetime later. So that was something that wasn't even on my radar, but it just made such a massive difference to my musical journey. And I know my wife has a photo of me posing with a headband and my homemade Strat and my keyboard and my little hard disk recorder in my studio when I was about 17. So hopefully she will be able to send me that and I can use it as the thumbnail for this particular video. It was such an amazing piece of gear, and that workflow of everything being hardware, I wouldn't say that I miss it because Pro Tools is way more powerful and I'm way more used to using that, but there was definitely kind of like a little bit of craft required to get the most out of that thing. I really had a good time with it. Speaking of the holiday season, did I get any sweet musical gifts? I certainly did. My wife got me a vintage Boss DSD-3, a pedal that I've been wanting to grab for years and years. So look out for a demo with this one. But this definitely has to be one of the coolest pedals that I've ever been given. Also, my wife, Elspeth, got me this for Christmas, the new EHX String 9, and this is an incredible amount of fun. There will be a demo video with this really soon. I feel like her and I should probably do the video together like we did for the Way Huge a Treat Is. So if you want to see and hear that, smash that like button and let me know in the comment section below, because yeah, this is so much fun for somebody who, really enjoys string-based synthesizer sounds. They really nailed some of the tones in here, and this is something that I really want to try to incorporate into my live rig. I'm normally a sparse minimalist when it comes to kind of rigs, FM3 expression pedal, that's it. But I think this one might have to go in a loop or off its own kind of send to the mixer, and then I need to find a cool way to use it, because for some of the pad sounds in here, I can see and hear how they would work really well for particular sections live, including like the hold function on here, you know, just holding the root note underneath the solo section or something like that. So yeah, I got some pretty sweet musical goodies. What did you get for Christmas? Let me know in the comment sections below. To round things out for today, my favorite guitar solos of all time. It really does depend on what day of the week you ask me, but I'm going to try to think of 5 that kind of shaped me as a guitar player. And the first one, the very first guitar solo I ever wanted to learn, and every time I hear it, I still kind of get little tingles down the back of my neck because I still remember where I was when I heard this, and it was the thing that made me want to play lead guitar. It is Brian Robertson's solo in the Live and Dangerous version of Thin Lizzy's Don't Believe a Word. Like, he's just basically bending up to an E note and releasing it with a wah pedal and then doing a trill, and hearing that I thought was the coolest thing ever. It's neck and neck between that one and the solo in Still in Love with You, Scott Gorham's solo on there. So yeah, some Thin Lizzy Live and Dangerous to go there. David Gilmour's solo in the Pink Floyd song Coming Back to Life. It's just one of the most beautiful, lyrical, tasty guitar solos of all time, something that I absolutely aspire to with my own playing. Next, I still remember hearing John Sykes' solo in Still of the Night for the first time. Just that absolutely free range shredding. I've no idea what John's playing on there. And, you know, it's still one of those solos where it just kind of sounds like noise at the beginning. There's so much going on. But then those bends and that vibrato, I probably enjoy some of John's other solos more than that one now. But that one was definitely one of those kind of turning point solos for me. Another one like that, Chris Oliva's guitar solo in the Sabotage song Edge of Thorns. Just everything about that song made me want to play harder, heavier rock music. I was very into just kind of blues and classic rock at the time, and hearing that riff and Chris's solo and the way it's like shred plus emotion really, really did it for me. And for a 5th one, I'm trying to think here. Again, it depends on the day of the week. If you asked me this tomorrow, I would probably give you 5 very different guitar solos. But I don't know, maybe some Yngwie, maybe some Paul Gilbert or something in there. I'm trying to think of a solo that I learnt that kind of like changed the way I played. There's a lot of them. I mean, you know, the solo in Sweet Child of Mine is super cliche, but every time we play that live at a cover gig, people lose their mind. It's such a great solo. It's so well put together. I feel a little bit too cliche putting that one in there because that was one that I came to a little bit later in life. Maybe I'll go with some Gary Moore. Let's go with some Gary Moore. Let's go with not Still Got the Blues, but I feel like that After Hours live album. I know what it's going to be. Walking by Myself. That one. The perfect, short, sharp, intense rock and blues solo. I can't remember if that one is on Still Got the Blues or After Hours, but that era of Gary, anytime I hear it, I have to pick up a guitar and try to play. So there's 5. I could probably list a further 25 off the top of my head that really shaped me as a player, but kind of all the usual suspects in there. You got a bit of Sabotage, a bit of Gary and John, a bit of David Gilmour, a bit of Thin Lizzy, all the tasty rock and roll stuff. Maybe a 6th one would be Alan Holdsworth's solo in the UK song In the Dead of Night, because it just introduced me to Alan Holdsworth and the genius of Alan Holdsworth, and so many of those runs are things I still try to do if I try to do legato stuff. So yeah, I don't know, maybe I should just do a video about like my 25 favorite solos, but it means I've got to try to play all of them as well, which may or may not be a good idea. Nevertheless, I'm going to bid you all farewell for this week and for 2022. Have a great new year. I hope 2023 is a happy and productive one for you, and you get to spend plenty of time noodling on your guitars and plenty of time with your loved ones. Again, thanks so much for all your support this year, and I'll see you next year. Cheers.